Every single day, thousands of people walk out their front doors, never to be seen again, leaving behind lives, families, and unanswered questions that haunt the living like a persistent ghost. Imagine a world where gravity shifts, where paths lead to nowhere, and where people are erased from existence in the blink of an eye. You think you're safe in your home, in your car, or on a crowded city street, but are you? History is littered with bodies that were never found and souls that vanished into thin air, leaving behind only half-eaten meals or running engines. We aren't talking about common crimes, we are talking about anomalies that defy the laws of physics and logic. What if I told you that in certain places, the air itself seems to swallow people whole, folding space like paper until the victim is simply gone? It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Let's begin this descent into madness. First, we look at the Bennington Triangle in Vermont. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished in this concentrated area of wilderness. It wasn't just a coincidence, it was a pattern of absolute terror that left the local community paralyzed with fear. Mid-Dye Rivers, a 74-year-old experienced hunter who knew those woods like the back of his hand, walked ahead of his group and simply disappeared. No tracks, no struggle, just silence. The authorities combed every inch of that forest, using hundreds of volunteers and bloodhounds, but the man was gone. Was he taken by something, or did he walk into a void? The lack of physical evidence is the most harrowing aspect. Then came Paula Weldon, a college student who hiked off into the woods on a clear day and became a ghost. People don't just evaporate, yet here we are, decades later, with no answers. The locals speak of a curse, a dark energy that permeates the soil, suggesting that the land itself is sentient and hungry. Is it possible that the terrain is a trap designed by nature, or something else? The silence of the forest in that region is heavy, suffocating, and deeply unsettling. Think about it, how can a healthy human being just stop existing in a space where they were seen only seconds before? The geography of the Bennington Triangle is rugged, but it isn't impossible to navigate. Yet, trained search teams found nothing. Not a shoe, not a scrap of clothing, not a single sign of life. It's as if they were plucked from the earth by a force we cannot comprehend. And then, something even more disturbing happened in the subsequent years. People started showing up in random locations, miles away from where they vanished, but with one terrifying catch, they had no memory of who they were or where they had been. Imagine waking up in a field, years after you left your home, with your mind wiped clean like a blank slate. These aren't just cases of amnesia, they are cases of temporal displacement. Doctors are baffled. They look at these survivors and see healthy bodies, but the psychological trauma is etched into their very silence. Are they victims of some experiment, or is the human brain capable of shutting down under conditions we don't understand? Consider the case of the man found in the middle of a city, wearing clothes from a decade prior, speaking a language that hadn't been used in that region for a century. He didn't know his name. He didn't know his past. He only knew the fear of the unknown. Why does the mind choose to forget? Is it a defense mechanism, or is it a side effect of whatever happened to them while they were lost? The mystery of these survivors is perhaps more haunting than the mystery of those who never came back. At least the dead have peace. These people have a void where their identity should be. It's a psychological nightmare that refuses to end, a living death where the body remains but the soul is adrift in a sea of nothingness. Now, let's pivot to the vast, silent expanse of our national parks. Millions of people visit these protected lands every year, expecting a connection with nature. But for some, that connection becomes a final, permanent departure. In the deep woods, the rules of society fall away. There are no cameras, no witnesses, and the terrain is vast enough to hide 1,000 secrets. People go missing in areas that are supposed to be safe. They vanish while on established trails, while in full view of their families, or while stepping away for just a moment to answer a call of nature. The search and rescue logs are filled with pages of confusion. They find footprints that stop abruptly in the middle of a meadow, as if the person simply took flight or was lifted upward. They find children's items placed neatly on rocks, shoes, toys, or jackets, as if they were left as a warning or a ritual offering. What is hiding in the shadows of the old-growth trees? Is it a predator, or is it something else? Something that doesn't belong in our reality? The sheer scale of these parks makes them the perfect place for something to hide. It's a cold, hard fact that we are not the masters of the wilderness. We are merely guests, and sometimes, the host decides it's time for us to leave. The psychological toll on the families left behind is immeasurable. They spend their night staring at the dark, waiting for a knock on the door that will never come. It's a slow, agonizing death of hope, a grief that never finds closure because there is no body, no grave, and no explanation. And let's talk about the theories, the ones that keep investigators awake at night. Some believe in clandestine government programs, secret tests conducted on unsuspecting citizens to measure human endurance or psychological collapse under extreme isolation. Others point toward the fringe, whispering about portals, interdimensional shifts, or even non-human entities that move through our world unseen, existing in a spectrum of light we cannot perceive. It sounds like science fiction, but when you look at the evidence, or the lack thereof, the traditional explanations start to fall apart. Why do search dogs lose the scent at specific points in the woods, acting as if the trail simply dropped off a cliff? Why do electronic devices fail, and why do compasses spin wildly, indicating a localized electromagnetic anomaly? These aren't just coincidences, they are physical indicators of something wrong. Is it possible that the Earth has thin spots? Places where the barrier between our world and another is porous? It's a terrifying prospect. If there are things moving in the gaps, we are never truly alone. We are constantly being watched, and occasionally, we are taken. These theories aren't just for the paranoid, they are for those who look at the raw data and refuse to accept the narrative of it was just an accident. There is a pattern here, a dark, rhythmic pulse that connects these cases across time and space. We are dealing with something that doesn't play by our rules, something that views us as we might view an ant on a sidewalk, insignificant and easily removed. Finally, we reach the cases that will never be solved. The files are dusty, the leads are dead, and the witnesses have all passed away. These are the cold cases that haunt the archives of police departments across the globe. They are the stories that remain unfinished, the books that have had their final pages torn out. Every detail matters, yet every detail leads to a dead end. We have the forensic science, the satellite imagery, and the global communication networks of the modern age, and yet, people still vanish. It's a humbling reminder of how little we actually know about the world we inhabit. We think we have mapped every corner, but the truth is, we are blind to the ghosts that walk among us. We don't even know what we are looking for. Could it be that we are looking for the wrong clues in the wrong dimensions? The frustration of these unsolved disappearances is a weight that history carries forward, a burden of unanswered questions that will eventually be forgotten by time. But the victims? They are still out there, in some form, in some place, trapped in the silence of the unknown. We look at the photos, the faces of those who vanished, and we see ourselves. It could have been any of us. The next time you walk into the woods, or wander off a path, or find yourself alone in the quiet of the night, remember this: the world is much darker than you think, and the secrets it keeps are buried deep beneath the moss and the stone. We are just scratching the surface of a reality that is far more complex and dangerous than we were ever told. The patterns are there if you look hard enough, lurking in the margins of the reports. The evidence is scattered in the wind, whispered by the trees that saw what happened. But the answers? The answers are hidden in the places we are too afraid to explore. We are left with the cold reality of our own insignificance in the face of these mysteries. We search for logic in a place where logic has no currency. We look for footprints in a forest that wants to keep its secrets buried. The wind whispers their names, but the forest never answers. It just keeps the secret, holding it tight, waiting for the next soul to wander into the trap. There are still countless mysteries left to discover, and as we peel back the layers of this reality, we find that the void is looking back at us. Don't be fooled by the comfort of your routine. Don't be blinded by the belief that you are safe because you are watched by others. There are spaces in this world where you are entirely alone, and in those spaces, the impossible becomes the inevitable. The history of the vanished is the history of our own fragility, a reminder that we are only ever one step away from stepping off the map entirely. Keep your eyes open, stay on the path, and pray that when you walk out your door, the world doesn't decide it's your turn to be erased. The darkness is patient, and it is always hungry for the next mystery to swallow.